Okay, finally, now, finally Chad is working. Okay, alright, finally Chad is working. Out of the way. Look at this. See what's going on. Okay. Alright, we got some around. Get some air going. See what we can do here. Now, I wonder if I go to YouTube. Alright, well, let's see. Alright, put a piece in there and get it warmed up. Somebody watches, great. If not, That's fine. Things didn't go as planned. So I'm going to heat this piece of steel up. Maybe somebody will stop in. Who knows? And everybody probably got tired of trying to get in after all that. I had to restart it and try it about 100 times just to get it to actually work. But it's working now. It's only, I don't know, almost an hour later. So let me get a good heat on this and we'll start playing around. Start setting that corner down. Gotta keep it hot, get it back in the fire. It looks a lot hotter on the camera than it really is. Shut this crap off that's up here somehow. I decided I almost want to launch forest fire, but absolutely not. Knocking it down, learning how to do it without using a guillotine tool. Now I need to go back into YouTube and delete all them practice runs. People weren't watching. There we go. We're good and hot. I'm just backing that down. Another great trick I learned is I had so many times that my handle would start getting hot when I'm working on a short piece. I'd grab it with a pair of tongs and dip it in my French tank. While watching Steve Mankowski demo, he just held the piece, plunged his hand right in there, and cooled it off. Now it's cool. I still got the heat up in the top. I didn't have to grab a pair of tongs or anything like that. Recently I watched Steve give a demo, and then I signed up for what I thought was going to be a class. Yeah, no sense in talking if ain't nobody watching. If nobody pops in, I'll just delete it later. You see I'm thinning that out and leaving that mass. Just going to keep working it down and put that stuff in there without using a spring swage or a guillotine tool. And that's the hardest part probably on this whole thing, is getting that shoulder without destroying it and having enough hammer control to get that step down in there. You can see it's getting smaller. Just going to keep working it down. I'm going to keep, it gets hot pretty quick because my handle's not that long, so I'm just going to keep cooling it every other heat or so until I get a little length on it. And I could grab it with a pair of tongs, or I could have started with a longer piece, but I'm just going to keep going until I get one that I like. I made a couple already. And each one just gets a little better. And I'm not, you know, this isn't my bread and butter. I'm not making money on any of this content. I have like 19 subscribers total. So I can do the same project over and over until I get it right. And I don't have to worry about it like some people do. And if I was you can see I knocked that right down without using anything other than just the hammer and the anvil. And the better you get with your hammer control, the smoother and the faster you can do that. And I might just grab this with a pair of tongs. Aha, yeah. I was having problems with the chat window. And I spent roughly an hour just trying to figure that out, because I couldn't get my chat window to open up live chat. in the stream. And I didn't figure, since I was about an hour late, I wasn't even sure if anybody was going to watch. So I actually started another spatula. I believe I made this one on Saturday last week when you were watching. And then this one was on Sunday. And this one I put a curved handle on it. Made the loop there. Hard to see. Bigger. And just playing around. So how's Australia treating you? And then, once again, like I said, being that I screwed around trying to get the chat working for an hour, I wasn't really expecting anybody to show up, because I figured they all gave up, because I restarted it a whole bunch of times trying to get it to work. You can see, well, maybe you can see, kind of hard to see with the top, but when I'm hitting it, I'm putting big dents in it because I'm coming in at an angle with my hammer. Then I go back and smooth it up a little bit. When I watched Steve do his, he'd bring it out. Every time he brought it out of the fire, he was at or near welding heat. And his attitude and, you know, what he said was just basically, get it really hot and use that heat and you'll be able to move it a lot faster. So he brings it out at welding heat almost every single time. A wheat twist for a handle and a wheat twist for the handle. Whew. That's kind of different on a Suffolk watch or latch. One of these days I'll get around to doing one. I saw Steve when he did the demonstration 3 weeks ago up north. He did a Suffolk latch as one of his demonstrations. And one of these days I might try one. But unfortunately I didn't get the printout to know, back and look at and have my sizes down. So I've taken this basically 2 inches, drawn it out. When I'm done, I want it to be probably pretty close to 1/4 inch. And it takes a couple heats. So right now, would be summer down there, correct? I remember that on the Suffolk latch, one of the big things was when you did the pinch at the top of it, because most of the time they have a, you know, some kind of like a spade shaped finial on the top and the bottom. Well, when you pinch them in, like I did on the start of this, and you're coming in, pinching it in, it gets wider this way. And so what he did was he didn't control that width the other direction. Then when he punched a hole through, it left him two nice flats that were thicker than the 1/4 inch stock that he started with on either side, where you drive the little pin through. You can see it's getting flatter, straighter, longer. That's basically, I'm stretching out this section that I'm doing right now. That starts out, it was only 2 inches long. And that'll give me a nice long section, basically right there. From there to there, that round section. I found that 2 inches gives me a pretty good length on 1/4 by 1. Now once I get this down and I get the spatula to where I like it, I'm going to go back and do a spoon and a fork and a spatula, the set of 3. But once I get it to where I can do these pretty good and repeatable, and I like the handle, I get a handle that I like, the dimensions I like, everything looks good, I'll start paying attention to how much I'm using on every part of it, so that I can repeat it on the handles for the other ones. But when you go to the fork, you're only using 1/4 by 3/4, so then I got to figure out the difference, because 2 inches of 1/4 by 3/4 is not going to draw up to the same amount as 2 inches of 1/4 by 1. You can see every heat just gets a little bit longer. I used to worry about how many heats I was taking. Lately, I just don't care. I take more heats and I get it smoother. But yeah, once again, you came in, I think you missed the beginning, and the beginning is actually the hardest part, is making that neck in it without using the guillotine or a spring swedge. Just using the hammer and the corner of your anvil. It's a really, really good practice in hammer control. Let's come in and get that established. Now you can see Not all of them were successful. These were all rejects that I was working on trying to get them. Working it down into a lower heat just so that I can see. Try to get that as close to 1/4 inch over the whole length as I can. So what time is it there? Oh, looks like I might be by myself again. Okay, anyway. 9:45 a.m. Oh, okay, funny. I just went to see who was participants and you weren't listed. I thought you left. 9:45 in the morning. Alright, well, so 7 o'clock, so when I started it was like 9 o'clock when I originally should have started. Or no, that was probably almost 2 hours ago now. On 7:15. 9:45. So I'm getting that length. That's out of that 2 inches. That 2 inches is about 6.5 inches long now. There is a delay. It's weird because it's like 9:45. Here we're at like it's 7:15, which is 1/4 after. So it's not even a full hour thing. It's like a half hour in the difference in the time. So what I might start doing is one more heat on this stem or whatever you want to call that part of the thing, and then I will start spreading out. I left 3 inches this time instead of 2. Hey, Trail Dust, how you doing? I wasn't even sure if anybody was going to watch. I had problems with my audio for the first hour, so I am just going to make, I had started before Alexis jumped in, just making another spatula. I'm just going to try to get reasonably good at making them. Like I explained to Alexis, the hardest part is getting that squished down because I'm not using a guillotine tool. Half power time zones, okay. Yeah. So, like I said, the hardest part is getting that established and started because of the, I'm not using a guillotine tool. I'm just coming in and packing it in there with the hammer and the edge of the anvil, and it requires quite a bit of hammer control to do it efficiently with a lot of power. Okay, I'm actually going to just cool this down my handle in so I don't need tongs. But yeah, I was watching the class on doing these spatulas, and when I noticed that he would bring it out, he'd be at welding heat every time he pulled it out. He did not work it at lower temperatures. He kept the heat right up. No, even I struggle with it, so and I just started doing it because I don't know, I just wanted to learn how to do it without the, you know, I literally at Quad State bought another guillotine tool off of, the C-frame guillotine tool off of Roy, Christ Center, and got it together, and I haven't even used it yet because now I'm trying to learn how to do it without it. Because I've had a A-frame, you know, that I made, you know, I'll still use it just in different ways. But, alright, so good and hot, straighten her out, come out, and start spreading it. Now you can see I get it just right. You can see that I'm spreading it, I'm hitting it in the center, and it's still got the full thickness on both sides. And you want to take that down till you get to your finished thickness in the center before you start pulling it to the sides. That's another thing that I learned. It's, you know, before I would just beat right across it both directions and just keep beating across it. And then a basic blacksmithing class in January, well, we could have gave you a basic blacksmithing class at Quad State. You know, an intensive 3 days of nothing but just us talking to you and making you do all the work. I could have been down with that. Yeah, I'm actually thinking my, you guys call it guild, we just call it a chapter. Our chapter of Urbana in New York State does scholarships. And I've been in the chapter for over 20 years, and I've never taken advantage of a scholarship and gone to a class on them. So I may do that. Once again, you can still see I'm thin in the center, but I'm full thickness out on the two sides. Yeah, our chapter gives out like a $1,500 scholarship, and you can go. They give out a scholarship, a full scholarship down to J.C. Campbell in North Carolina. And then they have other ones where they have a $1,500 scholarship every year they give out, and you can go pretty much anywhere you want as long as it's a legitimate, class. You can go take a class with an individual instructor if you want, as long as they approve it, which half the time nobody even signs up for them. So you can take a class and go take your class with whoever you want. I may take advantage of that and go do an individual week-long class. You can see I'm starting to pull it towards me on that side, and this side is still glowing because it's still pretty thick. Well, sometimes it's good to get out of your comfort zone, because if you stay in your comfort zone, you never learn. Hey, what's up, Tim? I figured you were here earlier when I saw you replied to my thing, but I was having problems getting the chat to come up in my OBS. And I restarted several times just trying to get the chat to work. And by the time I got it done, it was an hour late, and I didn't figure anybody was going to bother coming in and watching. You can see I'm just spreading it out, making it move. It's got a lot of marks still in it, which means there's a lot of thickness still there. Because when I get done, this thing ends up being about a 1/16 of an inch thick. And I've got dents in there that are at least a 1/16 of an inch thick. So I got quite a ways I can go still. And for the other people, basically, I made a spatula. Here's one that I made last Saturday. It's a pretty simple design, and mainly just, without using special tools, just your hammer and your anvil. And then here's another one that I did Sunday last week. And this one, the handle is curved instead of flat, and I put a bigger ring here. And then I took this all and wire brushed the heck out of it on the power wire brush to get it smooth and get it nice and shiny. Alright. So, let's get her out. She's glowing pretty good. see, I'm working the far side here for me, and that's still in some places an eighth of an inch thick. And I'll just keep taking heats and spreading it. And this is just one piece rather than doing a riveted on spatula. So then we'll go in and kind of tidy it up a little bit so that it doesn't get out of control. So I'll probably take a quick heat, tidy it up, get it right back in the heating back up again. And you can see by the dark spot in the center that it's thinner there. That's the finished thickness, and the rest of it's still a little bit thick. I started with 1/4 by 1. The guy that was doing the class said that he uses 1/4 by 1 cold rolled 1018. I didn't have any. This is just A36 hot rolled 1/4 by 1. The length, I left 3 inches for the blade, and then the stem that you're seeing that's already drawn out was 2 inches. And that's not written in stone. You can play with them measurements. And just keep drawing it down and widening it out. And right now it's, I'll check it after the next heat, after I find my ruler. That's 3 inches wide, and I think I'm going to be on this next heat, I'll probably be pretty close to 3 inches wide on that. So I started with 1/4 by 1, and it's going to be 3 or more inches wide. One of the problems that I do have is I keep getting on the end of these that fish smell, like that. And so far it's been easier for me just to remove it by taking a cold chisel and chiseling it off. When I get better at it, I should be able to do that without forming it. You can see the anvil, my anvil is 3 inches wide, and I'm about 2 7/8 right now. I mean, I really should take another piece and start over and show you what I did to get to where I'm at. Because the rest of this is just flattening and widening it and then drawing it out in different spots. And some of them, like the guy that was teaching the class, he worked at Colonial Williamsburg. Back in the 80s, he did his apprenticeship there. And then he's worked in his own shop doing historical stuff for about 40 years. So when you hammer 40 years, you get pretty good at it. He can draw that right out to that shape without even, you know, going back and trimming anything. Whereas me, I went back on one of them, I went back and took a cold chisel and chiseled it right to size. On these ones, I just made the blade itself, I went over to the 2x72 and just made it just the right, drew it out bigger, but it was kind of blobby looking, and then went back and made it look like it was supposed to. Problem is, once it gets this thin, it just starts cooling really fast. So now all I'm doing is, I'm not too terribly worried, because if I stand it up and try to correct it, it's just going to fold on me, especially in the center. I keep getting them too thin in the center in the beginning. So right now I'm just going to worry about getting it flat. And then I'll just grind off whatever is extra. Because I'm actually starting with an inch more material for my blade than he started with on his. He started with the 2 inches of material and spread it out and made his whole blade. I'm starting with 3 inch. But I'm going to trim some. Alright, well I might have messed this one up, because it looks like right in there I'm starting to get a crack. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it on the camera. Right there, see it? So, I'm going to go in and take that up to a good welding heat. Get right in that corner. Work it down a little bit and see if I can't get that to go away. And if I can't, I'll just strap it. I've got, I don't know, 20 more feet of that 1/4x1. I can keep trying until I get it right. And being that I'm not a content creator, you know, I don't have to worry about doing something different every week. I mean, I've got like 19 subscribers. So I don't have to worry about keeping them all happy, and you know, I got 19 subscribers, and if they want to watch me, they will, and if they don't, well, they don't have to. All right. Nope, that is going to crack right off. Nope, that's how I burnt down the last shot. There, got a good view again. Oh, yeah, you can see I had a crack there. I seen it starting. I was working it too cold, so that's my fault. I'll go ahead and just cut that off. Yep. Hey, I didn't burn it in half like a whole horseshoe. 2 subscribers. Now I feel special. Alright. You guys really wanted to see the beginning of that anyway. We probably won't get to the end. I don't know what time it is now. It's only 7:30. Alright, good and hot. Everywhere except for where I want to cut it. Alright, so we got our bar cut back off. No, I didn't do that on purpose. I will be the first one to admit that I have screwed up more pieces than most people have finished. Just trying to get it the way I want it. When others will be like, oh yeah, that's small enough, or that's good enough, and that's flat enough, and I go a little more and try to get it just to where I want it, and end up throwing it out, starting over, doing it again. I remember I did a demo once on a leaf hook. I don't know if you guys can hear me while I'm cleaning out my fire and my back's to you, but I did a demo on a leaf hook once for our group, and everybody was like, oh yeah, that's great, and I had a part of it that I did not like. So I got it all done, finished the demo, and then I heated it up one more time and just smushed the whole thing, made it into a big mess. And then I had another one that I brought for a demonstration of what I was going to make. And I put that one in the iron in the hat so they can raffle it off. Alright. Let's get this fire going again. That down for a minute so that the smoke doesn't, it channels the smoke up into the chimney. Alright, so put that piece in there, although it's got a little bit too much air, but it'll be alright. I'm not forge welding it, so. I mean, I suppose if I wanted to, I could try forge welding that blade back on, but I'm not gonna. Alright, let's get a little heat up, and then first thing we'll do is square up the end of the bar. Okay, all we did was just fix the end of the bar, squared it up from where we cut it. We'll get her back in there. Cut back this area a little bit. Heat her up, and I know that my anvil face is 3 inches wide. So I will use that for the to establish where my notch is going to go. I'm leaving 3 inches for the blade like I did on the last one. Now I'm going to take it right up to welding heat. Like I said, I have 2 guillotine fullers right here in the shop, but I'm trying to do it without them just by improving my hammer control. First couple of hits, I don't care. And after that, I come in and I hit, then I walk up to that edge. Now I'm starting to get that notch in there. Side conversation. That's good. You guys have a side conversation. I like that. Not electric, so it's 100 yards to walk back to the house. Ha! So, you guys haven't entertained the option or the possibility of buying a generator to go out there? Yeah, I'm using just, these are real cheap $50 webcams. I mean, I tried hooking up my DSLR and I couldn't get it to work with the OBS, and finally I gave up on it. You can see how I'm necking that down without the guillotine tool. Just by striking where I want to. Like I said, it's a good exercise. I think everybody should try it at least once. It's just an exercise in hammer control. I've done about, in the past couple weeks, I want to say the last 3 weeks, I've probably done 8 or 9 of these. You know, where I've done the end. That's counting the one that fell off. And counting the rejects. Counting the 2 spatulas I got here, the one I made, and the 3 spoons that I did the same thing on. I hear ya. That's always the biggest problem with the generator. can see, I'm getting that with just the hammer. If I was smart, I'd probably go ahead and go in and widen that blade out before I bother drawing that whole stem out. But I don't always do the smart thing. But I probably should. It may end up being easier that way. Or I could burn it up later when it's thinner while I'm trying to draw it down. So maybe I'll draw some more down first. So what I'll do is I'll come to the other end of the anvil and I'll notch out a little area, and then I'll draw that stem out of it. And another thing, now I got an area, but that's pretty thick. I mean, that's a good 3/8 square right there yet. So I'll go ahead and draw that out. Another thing that I want to stress is, sometimes I draw over the edge of my anvil. Rarely ever draw over the horn. I've never liked doing it that way. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll just tip my hammer. And if you guys look and see, you'll see how much my hammer tipped, and I'm digging this corner in like a fuller so that I can draw faster. And sometimes I think that works just as good as using the corner of my anvil. And it's more controllable for me. You look at the angle of my hammer. Do you see the dents I'm leaving in it? I don't know if you can see them dents. Similar to what would happen if you were going over the edge of the anvil and foldering out on that corner. Then I'll go back and clean them up. But by tipping that hammer off at an angle and driving that corner in, that'll allow you to move that material a lot faster. And once again, if I'm not showing you guys on the camera and everything, I can do this faster. But now just clean up some of the mess. Go back, start digging that corner in again. You can see now I'm starting to draw that out. I didn't measure it, so I have no idea how much I pinched off. Last time I started at 2 inches and it stretched out to be about 7.5 by the time I got it all down to 1/4 inch. This one I didn't get as much out on, but I can go back and take some more out later. I learned the tilting the hammer trick by accident. Well, years and years and years ago, I had a buddy, an old blacksmith that was a really, really good blacksmith. His name was John Scarlett. And what John told me, he had just a regular cross peen hammer with a square face. And what he told me is, he's like, I think of my hammer as 4 fullers and a flatter. And he'd tip his hammer this way, he'd lean it down, tip it up, and use them edges and move that material wherever he wanted it. Back then, my hammer control was so horrible that I didn't even bother because I could barely hit where I wanted anyway. But now I'm starting to get back into paying attention to that. You can see it's stretching out. And hopefully I won't let it get too cold and break it off after I spread the whole blade out, like I did on the last one. That's really starting to heat down. Whew. There. Now all I'm trying to do is get that whole stretch down as close to one uniform thickness as I can get. Here I go working up there where I shouldn't be while it's cold. And now you can see it's getting pretty flat, pretty uniform. I don't have a lot of hammer marks. I'll pick up some heat in that spot where I need it before I try to straighten that. We'll try again. Yeah, you know, I gotta say, I don't think I have a single horseshoe in my shop. I got a little bucket down there with some railroad spikes in it that I've never used. Alright, got it straightened up. Now I'll start working that blade. Once again, start in the middle, get your middle down, you know, at least 1/8 of an inch thick, half the thickness you started with, at least, minimum. It's actually better if you go almost completely to your finished size before you start spreading. And you just run that line down the middle. Because then it'll keep the sides holding heat longer. So that you'll have more time to work. Because once it starts getting thinner, it cools faster. You don't have as much time to work on it. So, so you can see it's starting to spread. You're not going to see too much on that first heat. It's still pretty big and bulky and hard to work down. But what you'll start to see is a line in the center that's getting darker, and then the edges are still hot because they're thicker still. And then that gives you more time to go out and work on your edges. Work one edge towards you and the other edge away. The other thing I used to do was I would almost always work the edge towards me, then flip the piece and work the other side back towards me. But now I'm trying to do it the same way I saw it done and try to get it worked evenly across it. So when I'm working both sides the same, I'm not favoring one side. See, I'm getting a dark spot in the center because it's thinner, and I'm leaving material. It's still got a lot of thickness on the sides, but the center right now is almost 1/16 of an inch thick. So now I'll start working it out. Whew. And like I said, I'm not in a big hurry to move on. I'm going to make enough of these to where I can get to where I can do it good. Because I may end up just doing this as a group demo for my club. You can see it's getting wider on that one side. But once again, the thinner it gets, the faster it cools. And I haven't flipped my hammer, I haven't used my flat side yet. I'm still driving the peen in, trying to get the width. And then later you'll see, once I get it thinner, I'll flip it and use the flat. This time you'll see pretty dramatically how much it's stretched to one side. And the other side here is still really thick. Well, I've done quite a few demos, especially for my group. Over the years, I used to do a lot more than I do now. Whew. Yeah, years ago I was at a fair doing a demonstration. And there was two of my friends that were there, blacksmiths that I learned from, my mentors. One of them was a guy named John Fee. The other guy, he was from Lake Corning, New York, like 2.5 hours south of me. The other guy was a guy from Virginia. His name was Pete Robertson, I want to say. And he was a wheelwright and did a lot of wagon wheels and stuff for cannons and stuff like that. Historically accurate reproduction wheels. And so we were doing a demonstration at the state fair. And I got up and I did a demonstration, and when I got done, Pete turns to me and he goes, "You're a good demonstrator." I just did what I said I wasn't gonna. Flipped it and started working back towards me, but you can see that side's starting to come out, and that'll take a couple heats just like the other side did. Yeah, and Pete turns around and he says, I got done with my demonstration, and Pete goes, he's like, "You're a good demonstrator." And I'm like, "Oh, you know, thanks, Pete, that means a lot to me, you know, when somebody like you says that I'm a good blacksmith." And he said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." He said, "I didn't say you were a good blacksmith." He said, "I said you were a good demonstrator." Now I'm flipping it just to flatten it. And we'll go another heat, because you can see we're still wider on that side than we are on the side closer. And I think I just did that, flipped it and drew back towards me again, which is a bad habit that I gotta quit. But sometimes you do this stuff for so long, it's hard to quit them habits. Put it over there. It a little bit. Keep it from going all bulbous. You can see it's starting to spread out. We're starting to get a pretty good spatula there. Yeah, no, he was joking around with me. He's like, I had another buddy, we were watching this really good blacksmith. Matter of fact, the other guy, John Fee, we were watching this really good blacksmith one time, you know, and the guy was doing real nice, real clean work. And my buddy said, says to me, he says, "Hey, you know, you could do that." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm not good enough to do that." He's like, "No, you could brush that scale off your anvil in between every heat so your work will be smoother." And I'm like, "You jerk." All right, now I'm going to flip to the other side. I'm going to come in and start flattening this with the flat of my hammer instead of the peen. But I can still drive a corner in when I need to spread it. A spot here or there. You can see I'm kind of tipping it, pushing it in and moving it around. Now what I'm flipping it for is I'm just looking for the shiny spot on the back, how much is getting nice and flat. And I'm going to start taking all them hammer marks from the cross peen out. Mom said I was born too late, haven't kicked that habit. Okay, I didn't get that, but. Who else we got? Is Tim still here? Nope, don't see him. I took my magnet off and I don't know where it went. It's a little ringy. Now you can see it's coming down, it's getting flat, a lot of the marks are disappearing. I still got some in the center, especially up there, and that's because I went too deep right in the beginning. Oh, Tim's still here. Yeah, for some reason, it only shows you as a participant in the chat if you've chatted within a certain time, I think. Because when I looked, it said you weren't here. Alright, so. And I'm not worried about getting this perfectly shaped. I'm going to go over there on the belt grinder later and shape that blade end. And if I wasn't, if I was doing a demo and I wanted to do it historically, then I could file it, or I can take a cold chisel and trim it. Now I got the blade shape, I got the material there. I'm not quite 3 inches wide. But you guys get the hint. So, truthfully, I'm just going to run that back and hit it a couple times in the power hammer and flatten it out, and then move on. Only because I wasted so much time on the first one, and it is 8, about 8:15 here. Okay, that flattened her right out. And you can see there was more material there than I thought there was because it pulled it right out. And I got that fish mouth in there that I can't get rid of because I started out and got it too thin in the center in the beginning. So far that's happened on every one I've made. So what I'll do just for the sake of getting this looking better, I'll go over and I'll just clean it up right with the 2x72. Okay, so you can see I filed that into a nice spatula. Now I'll take this stem and I'll round up that part, and then we'll force some of that out. Probably end up cutting some of it off to make the handle. Yeah, I mean, I think Tim is right up there with Bigfoot, you know. At lurking in the background and not being seen. Luckily for me, my forge does draw well, so I can throw a bunch of coal right on there, pile that right on, and it's all going up the chimney, not filling my shop. Because I got like a 12-inch pipe up here. And that 12-inch pipe is just heating duct. It's duct work. It's not even like a chimney pipe. There's actually a sticker on it right here. I've been running it for a couple hours and I can hold my hand on it. It does not get that hot. Alright, we'll heat this up, round up that section, and then we'll see if we need to draw some more out. One of the other things that I learned, the story behind the class was, I watched a guy, his name was Steve Mankowski, 3 weeks ago at a demonstration. He was doing a demonstration, he was a paid demonstrator that came in and did a demonstration for our group. So he was 2 days doing demonstrations. And during the second day of the meeting, the meeting was about 2 hours north of my house. He said that the following weekend he was going to be about an hour and a half east of my house doing a demonstration on 17th or 18th century cooking utensils. So while he was doing his demonstration, I walked away, got right on my phone, and looked up the class and booked the class. Well, upon getting home that weekend, I went online and looked up the class to see the details a little more and realized that I had essentially signed myself up for a forging and cooking with utensils. So half the class was forging and the other half was cooking in an open heart. But what I did learn was that a lot of your tools and stuff were quite a bit longer back then because you were cooking in an open heart. Like, this would have worked, but that would have been kind of short. Because you didn't want to have to keep pulling everything out of the hearth while you were, to flip it and all the time. You just wanted to reach in there and do what you got to do. So the utensils, and there were some old historical examples there and stuff that I really looked at pretty good. They tended to be longer. So you can see when I did this one, I made it pretty long. Alright, we're done rounding this up. Let me get right up in there. And that hard to get to spot right there. can see now, I've rounded a lot of that up. I can go back and I can do light straightening. I want to stay away from right there so I don't break it. I'm going to kind of compare it to my other one. My other one, my stem stops there and my handle starts. So I need to draw out probably another inch of that material to give myself more. So I think I'm going to flip it over so I don't damage that area. And if I draw out another inch here, I may not have to cut as much off, or cut any off. My experience with forging utensils is marshmallow forks. Yeah, I made some of them, marshmallow forks. I have a buddy who makes like just a marshmallow stick, I guess you'd call it, because it's just a piece of round stock. But he tapers it down at the end so you can get the marshmallow on, but then he ties a knot in it so that when the rod heats up, the marshmallow doesn't slide back down it. But if you got a fork and you got two tines, you don't have to worry about it. Whew. All right, let's pinch a little more off and round it up. Get a little more heat in there. Like I said, the other thing that really impressed me too was, or made an impression on me, was that every heat he came out of the fire, he was at forge welding temp. Up there. So now I got a chunk that I gotta isolate it a little bit more out, and I'll draw that out. We'll see how long we are. And I can just keep doing that, working back and adding a little bit more at a time until I get the length that I want. I mean, if I was more patient and I hadn't messed up that first one and it wasn't getting late, I would have hammered that nice and flat without going to the power hammer. But I still would have probably trimmed it on the 2x72 or with a cold chisel. Alright, so once again, the angle of my hammer, I'm digging that corner right in. Then I'm going back and flattening it. And now you can see it's grown at least twice as long that heat. We'll do it again. We'll compare it to the other one to see how long we are, because I like the length of the longer one. And I want that to be about that long. So, probably from that hardy hole over there. A lot of times I'll do that. I'll look for, you know, something close. Like if I need that much, I'll from that edge to that side of the hardy hole, or I'll use that to do a lot of rough measurements to get things close to where I need them. Now, if you see, I tipped it like that because I was working that way. I tried tipping like that, and when I came in, I hit the edge of my anvil when I knocked it, so then I ended up just tipping it up like that and driving it in. That's getting pretty close, and it's getting pretty close to this size it needs to be before I start rounding it. Maybe one more heat, and then maybe I'll be ready to round. Then we can work the handle down. So much innuendo. What? I don't get it. So you see I got it drawn out, and I even started rounding a little bit up. Move it in there and round some more up. And get us up to where the, yeah, I don't know how to understand the innuendo comment. So you'll have to elaborate. I'm a little slow on the uptake this evening. But yeah, I really need to find my magnet. And I took this, and when I got back, I never even bolted this down. It's just sitting on the stand. If I tighten it down on the stand, that kills some of the noise, because the bottom of the stand is actually a tire. Alright, so that's rounded up. I got from there to there, which was the length I was shooting for, to that hole. I still got a pretty big block that's, oh, a good 3.5 inches long, which is going to be quite a lot for a handle. I think I'm going to just start and trim an inch right off. I don't want that handle to be big and bulky. I'm going to hammer it down. Well, I'm actually not kidding. My anvil stand is a tire. With the rubber still on it, so if I tighten the anvil down on it, that does kill a lot of noise. Close enough. Alright, so Then I think I'm going to cool my blade end, and I can do a lot of the handle without using tongs, just by grabbing onto the blade end. Starting to get a pretty dirty fire. I had it stuck in there for quite a while, and it was down in a spot that was pretty cold. All right, let me cut off, about an inch. Like I said, when I get this down to where I can get it pretty repeatable, I'll start paying attention to the exact measurements so that I can make a match set. And that's the problem, that a lot of people see your finished work, but they don't see how many attempts goes into creating one piece. Because sometimes I'll do that same piece 5-6 times to get the process down so that I can make a matching piece. Alright, cool that blade down. Let's get that in there. Get that nice and hot. We can start making that handle. And that handle on this one is, that long, and it has a diamond shape, but it's pretty thin, so. First thing I'm going to do is start roughing out that taper. And right now it's even thicker than when it started. It's probably almost 3/8. But I'll keep working that down. Does anybody have any questions? My anvil is a tire. No noise and a lot of rebound. Haha. Got it. I mean, this is my big fancy forge that doesn't do anything that a little steel table wouldn't do. But I like it. It's almost as if when I put this in, I've got 3 gas forges in the back over there sitting up on a shelf that I really haven't even used hardly at all. I'll take them out every once in a while, but most of what I do is right here in this coal forge. Once again, tipping my hammer, digging that corner in, leaving them big dents in it. It's hard to see them, but there's big dents. See, it's starting to draw out, take the shape and center it up on the bar. Because if you remember, I just notched it hard from one side. And I'll just keep working that down till I get it thin and roughly the shape that I want. I'll have to at some point isolate some material off the end for the piece here, for the loop. And get that drawn down. I kind of like that last one I made. It's a real big loop and I got it really fine. Just trying to blend in that transition. Okay. So, right here, this is 1/4 inch round all the way up through here, you know, until you get to this handle. Well, the handle's thinner, so what I've got is I've got a little step in there. I don't know if you guys can see that. And that's simply hang the material over here, and then where your handle starts, squish it down from there on, make it 1/8 of an inch thick instead of the 1/4. So, right in here, where that transition is where I want to step it down. See the step that I left in there. Now, as long as I leave that step off the anvil, I don't have to worry about squishing it. I can just keep working the rest out. And a lot of this is just, don't be afraid to take that extra heat if you need to. If you rush it, you're just going to end up with crap. Takes the extra heat. Take the extra time. Do a nice job. Yeah, I built this forge right. I built the building, and then before anything else came in here, I built the forge. The only problem is now I've got so much other stuff in here that doesn't belong in here. Now I'm going to work on that taper, getting it nice and flat. You keep rolling it to both sides. It always creates the straight side on the anvil. If you keep flipping it, you can get nice straight lines, you know, on this edge and this edge. Yeah. I don't need another shed. I just need to clean this one up and move some of the stuff out of here and up to the garage. So I got Alexis, Trail Dust is Kevin, he was at Quad State. Tim Lilly is Tim, and he was at Quad State. Tim's a lurker, though he doesn't say very much very often. I want to keep that off that edge all the time when I'm hammering near it. So see, now it's hanging off that edge. So when I flip it flat, I can still hammer here without ruining that step. So now you can see I got that tapered part leading up is all pretty thin, and I've still got a big full thickness chunk out there on the end. So my next step will be to snip some of that not to snip it, to isolate some of it so that I have the material to make that little tail that makes my hook. Like I said, I'm going to keep trying this one and doing it over and over and over until I get it to where I can do it pretty repeatedly. Brew some tea. You teetotaler. Alright. Yeah, what is it down there in Australia? Is it tea or coffee? So I can start to isolate that out. My handle end's starting to get a little hot, so I'm going to cool that back off. Get her back in the fire. It's a mystery tea, no label. Yeah, no, I was wondering about down in Australia, do they drink tea or do they drink coffee? Herbal fruit tea. I know my wife bought a bunch of tea. We were out shopping the other day for co-workers. Like English tea, like Earl Grey and, you know, quote unquote real tea. So I'm just trying to start the shape, but you can see there's still a lot of thickness in it. It's got to be taken out yet. I smell something burning. I don't see anything. I make iced tea to drink during the day. It's not a thing here. We drink coffee in the morning. Though interestingly, there are 2 options at the store for ground coffee and several hundreds for instant. So not many percolators in Australia, huh? Once again, tipping that hammer. Just every heat gets a little bit more. Whew. now I'm mainly working on getting all this the same thickness. The shape, I'm just kind of tipping it up and keeping it from getting out of control. But I'm going to finalize it a little bit later. Another couple heats down the road, so not worried about it too much. Adam proclaimed Australians to be coffee snobs before I got here. Yeah, no. Maybe. Mushrooms made you forget. Huh. So I'm just, once again, trying to get the thickness even all the way down. I can see my piece out on the end is still blobby and thick. But I'm working the handle right now, and I'll get to the hook. But it's coming out pretty good so far. Then when I get to the end and I got to put the angle in it, I'll show you a neat trick for that too. It'll come in handy on your Suffolk latch. Sometimes it's hard to get these two diamonds lined up right across from each other. And I end up taking a few heats to do what I should easily be able to do in one. And I don't know why. It's just I'm not holding it at just the right angle. Now I got to kind of line everything up so that I can see when that looks straight and even. Take out any high spots that are where they don't belong. Yeah. So now you can see I got that diamond shape, and I just have to work on my hook, which is still pretty blobby, but it's a small piece. That's going to get drawn out pretty quick. How many heats is just going to depend on how fine I want it. I can make it really thick and a small hook, or I can make it really fine and make it a big sweeping hook. Like this one here has a much bigger hook than this one here. So start drawing that out, put a nice step in it. Put it back in. The advantage though is once it gets small, it heats faster too. So it'll go quite a bit faster now because it heats fast. Another heat, we'll do another 2 probably. But it's fine, because it heats fast. Another heat. I'm still pretty thick, so I gotta go back, take some of that thickness out, make it a little longer. This one looks like it's gonna be a pretty big one, which is all right. When you're cooking and maybe drinking a little bit, it's harder to get it on the hook if it's got a small one. Whew. Holy cow. I mean, that's getting over 4 inches long now. This is going to be a real big loop because I'm going to go down finer. I like, oh geez. I should have expected it. Innuendos. Alright, let me clean this fire out a little bit. Let's get a couple real big pieces out because I'm seeing a lot of dark spots down through the fire. What I don't want is I don't want the fire to be really dirty when I'm trying to get this really thin, because I'll get too much oxidation and it'll be a lot easier to melt that right off. Well, burn it right off because of the oxidation. Well, I'm going to clean my fire just a little bit. Before I continue with the big guns. So we're still getting longer. Got to be 6 inches now. Alright, I'm not going to show you, I'm just going to get it back in the heat. Keep this moving along fast. Now I'll start rounding. That's most of it rounded. Alright, so I got that drawn out. It's long. It is about 6 1/4. So what I'll do is I'll put a little itty bitty scroll on the end. And even though this is going to be a really big loop, I'm still going to make that finial real small so that I can show how fine I can get it. Now this one here, I cheated and did the spatula part over there in the grinder, but other than that, you know, I just corrected the shape. I could have done it with traditionally if I wanted to, with a cold chisel and a file, but for the most part, 90%, 95% of this is all done by hand. Now, I'm going to bend that out. I'm going to clamp it right in my vise and try to get that to be a line straight across it. Right there, I'm looking for a smooth line. Now I'll try to take a reasonably even heat over the whole thing, because the more even the heat is and the more consistent your taper is, the easier it is to get a nice smooth flowing rounded hook area on there. So I'll cool my little tip. Go back in, heat it again, and play with it until I get it right where I want it. This is going to be one really big hook. I should have just cut it in half and done it that way. Sometimes I do play around with it quite a bit to get it just where I want it. It's getting there, but it's not round enough yet. It's still got it's pretty round, but it's not centered. Sometimes I'm my own worst enemy, and I'll just keep tweaking that back and forth until I get just where I want. And most other people would be like, oh, good enough. But if you take that extra time, You can see, if you take the time, you can get that pretty round, pretty centered. Get rid of any flat spots. I can switch it. I mean, it's literally yeah, I don't want to burn this up. Okay. I know I've done it before. It's not that hard to switch the cameras. So what you're saying is you want to see more of the anvil and less of me. Understandable. Ah! Gosh darn it. Okay, I'm going to live with that. Just tuck it down in there. I'm going to live with that. Now I'll put it back in and I'll heat up the handle portion of it. And I will just throw my swage block up on top of the anvil and curve the handle in the swage block. I don't actually have a stand made for my swage block. Then I'll do that, and then we'll put the bend in down here, and we'll be done. Then the rest of it from there on out would be file work. If I had to do, clean any of it up, it would be just done with a file, and that would have been traditional too. Once you got, almost all of it, you would have went back and filed. Almost nobody got it perfect without going to the file. So I got the bottom half done, and it's kind of crunchy looking. Some of that is because these edges are pretty sharp on this swage block. These Holland swage blocks are pretty rough castings. They've got sharp edges. The castings are pretty rough. They're not real smooth and whatnot. So, this one here is pretty good, and this one, I think I radiused these corners off a little bit, but these smaller ones I hadn't done because I wasn't using them when I did that. So I only did the two that I needed. Okay, now you can see it bent it, so we'll go ahead and straighten that out. But we got a curve in it now. We'll just take a light heat on it, and just enough to flatten it out. And I can tell you now I messed up because that notch should have been on the back and it's on the front. So what I'll do is just blend that notch in. Okay, now, I don't know if you can see it. If I look down, this is tipped a little bit. It's not the same plane. So we'll heat up down here and just twist it a little bit until that's all uniform. And yes, that did take quite a while. But if you want to do nice work, it's going to take a while. I mean, nothing's fast and easy. Play with that some other time. I don't have a stamper mine, and I've had it for 30 years. Yeah, well, I've had that one for 15 anyway. Alright, so now I'm going to just clamp it in place and twist it just a little bit to get it lined up. And then I'll twist my vise around a little bit so you guys can see. And Sully, this is what you'll do on your Suffolk latch. Is when you want to put that bend in the top or in the bottom, you can put it right in the vise. All right. Okay, when you do your Suffolk latch, you're going to put that part there down in, and then to make your bend, just do this. And that'll give you your bend and your out, and then you do the same thing up here. And that's just an easy way to do it. Now just little bits, tweaks and whatnot. I went a little bit too far on that, so I'll take a little bit out. I'll heat it back up. I do want to take some of that out. I went too far. But yeah, when you want to make that bend, and you've got here's your decorative element, and here's your handle part, just clamp it in, tap it, and it'll bend it and give you both them bends at the same time. I like the bend on this one, so I'll compare it to that one. Oh, I didn't go too far. It's pretty good. And then I look to see, like, oh, I moved it. Now I'm over here. So now what I'm looking for is my blades tipped a little bit that way. So when I do those corrections, I just clamp it in the vise. If there's small bends like this, which really is minute, I'll just put it in the vise and give it a couple taps. Double check, make sure I did it right. Line everything up straight. A lot of times, if you're got a little bow or a bend in it, you can just put it in the vise and clamp it down and straighten it right out. And other times, I can just put it in the vise, clamp it, come out here and give it a tap right where I need it. And get it pretty straight. Now slide it in a little bit more, give it a tap here. And that looks pretty good. I can cool that down, turn that air off. Now you can see there's the next time I'll just switch the camera feeds and put the camera that's on the anvil so you can really see what I'm doing at the anvil better. But so there's tonight's, there's last Sunday's. So tonight's is even longer, and there's Saturdays, last Saturdays. And this will just clean up. I mean, if I do like I did on that, that's just cleaned up. It looked just as bad as that when I started. And I did a little draw filing on it. Just on the handle part right here. And then everything else I just took and hogged into it with the wire brush. I've got a grinder that's got like a 12-inch wheels on it. And I've got just 2 wire brushes on it. One's a loose brush and the other one's a twisted brush. And that's about it. Maybe the next stream I will do something different. But like I said, I wanted to play with this and just get, you know, get a few nice examples out. I probably should have cut that off. That is a really big loop on that. But it's really fine. So then if I go over here and just that'll clean right up, but you can see I got a big divot right there. And you probably can't see it, but I can easily see it. I might go back in the swatch block and fix that. Other than that, the rest looks pretty good. But that is a pretty big divot right there. I don't know how I got it. Might be able to take it out cold. actually got most of it. But then I got my curved handle. And then little tweaks. I mean, I can literally just stand here and like, it's not lined up right here with that, and I can just take that and tweak it by hand. Now it's lined up. Sometimes it's easier just to do the little stuff cold by hand afterwards. Alright guys, and on that note, I'm going to call it. Been fun, glad you guys tuned in. I mean, I don't normally expect to see very many people in my streams anyway. I've got like 19 subscribers. Just gonna straighten this out a little. Pull it up, make sure I didn't go too far. Round the two corners up a little. Alright, that's it. Alright, I will see you guys. And on that, I am ending it.